the promise of an Aryan world would never materialize. So why did they all come out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died? The world is riddled with maggots, the maggots are getting fat. They're making a tasty meal of all the bosses and bureaucrats. They're taking over the boardrooms and they're fat and full of pride. And they all came out of the woodwork on the day the Nazi died. So if you meet with these historians, I'll tell you what to say. Tell them that the Nazis never really went away. They're out there burning houses down and peddling racist lies. And we'll never rest again until every Nazi dies.
Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woke up one morning and there were soldiers. The invasion had begun. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Lend me your shoulder, we'll stand together. But I feel my time has come, and if I die here for the resistance, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. And if I die here for the resistance, you must lay me in my grave among the flowers upon the mountain. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Among the flowers upon the mountain, let me rest among the brave. Someday the people will pick the flowers. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Someday the people will pick the flowers, and they will remember my name. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of the resistance. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. This is the flower of the resistance, and those who died for liberty. This is the flower of our resistance, and those who died for liberty.
Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My daddy was a miner and I'm a miner's son, and I'll stick with the Union till every battle's won.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Oh, workers, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab or will you be a man?
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Don't scab for the bosses, don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance unless we organize.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
the Zulu say, and nice bows and arrows. Of how brave you face one with your 16-pounder gun, and you frighten all the natives to the marrow. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Holloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gillishandar. Come let us hear you tell how you stand the brave Parnell, and taught them well and truly persecuted. Where are the stares and jeers that you proudly let us hear, when our heroes of 16 were executed? Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Tell her how the IRA made you run like Holloway from the green and lovely lakes of Gillishandra.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch all with the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch all with the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead.
Oh, come out, you pretty sons, come out and fight without your guns. Show your wife how you won medals up in Derry. You murdered 16 men and you'll do the same again. So get out of here and take your bloody army. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders.
Hello there, fellow Gaylords. How are we all? Yes. What have we been up to? Are we well? Hopefully we are. Oh, I haven't closed anything. 1 second, everyone. There you go. How are we all? Oh, I am sweaty. It's a hot day again. But we've got a posh bird, so let us wait no longer. Oh, pardon me. Yes, you can give me money for this absolutely quality content. Why you would, heaven only knows, but you can. Yes, use microphone and camera, I guess. I don't fucking know. That's very strange. Yes. I should probably set this up before, shouldn't I? Took queer, indeed. It's grey and breezy and damp for the first... Where the fuck are you, Dr. Phil? And can I go there, please? Because I'd quite like some damp, cold weather. Thank you very much. That would be nice. Because it's sweltering in the tropical paradise that is the people/rat republic of Birminghamistan. Yeah. Oh, you're in Glasgow. Okay. You're a Ouija. Did you make that meme, Kev? I did make that meme years ago. When the Barbie thing was out and there was like one of these like...
Oh, create a Barbie meme.
Only old frogs. Only OGs will understand the reference though. You new ones, you haven't got a clue about the small plastic dog. I could explain it. I'm not going to. I'm going to let your imagination take it where it will. Yes, we're doing a politics thing today. Ooh, what was that? Is that the new noise they use? Oh, good lord.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Wagwan. How are we all?
We were just discussing Robot Wars.
Well, honestly, that's far too heterosexual for you, and I don't appreciate it at all.
Surely it's transgender, though.
It is a bit trans, to be fair, but like straight trans,
True, true. Although someone mentioning like Professor Noel Sharkey, who was one of the judges on Robot Wars, I was once on Novara Live when he was being interviewed. Novara Media.
Why was he being interviewed for Novara Media specifically?
As a professor of robotics, he was like one of the spokespeople for a campaign for stopping automation in warfare. There was like a Stop the Killer Robots campaign, like, and they're focusing on, use of AI targeting in Israel and shut it down.
Okay. Like, don't get me wrong, Robot Wars was completely harmless, but I do feel like you're sending mixed messages with the "let's not do killer robots" when you literally had one called Sir Killatron. Who was
Sir Killalot.
So sorry, Sir Killalot. Apologies. And you had Matilda, who was a little armadillo with a tail that was in fact a spinning disc of death. So like again, like where do you stand, mate? Are you for the killer robots or not? Make your fucking mind up. Did not think I'd start off with a rant about Noel Sharkey. Jesus Christ.
I remember seeing the people in the comments going like, I remember him from Robot Wars. I'm like, I think he's there to talk about like Israel's genocide.
Yeah, he's also a very well accomplished doctor of robotics. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
We got into this because as an intro to my stream, I just started off with a Robot Wars theme, and then like the person does the introduction going like the Terminator squash partner, Craig Charles, and then I just shut it off and went like, sorry, it's just little me, no Craig Charles today.
True, but my favourite Craig Charles moment is obviously him smoking crack in the back of that taxi. That was fun, eh? Like, I mean, he also had a very accomplished career as an actor and, all of that.
As a DJ as well.
And DJ, of course, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Red Dwarf is what he's known for.
True.
And
like,
Robot
DJing,
Wars, I guess,
Yeah. DJing like our esteemed Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Murray Burnham.
Yeah, true.
Who said that there'll be slight discounts at the pub. I mean...
Yeah, okay, I suppose we should get into some serious politics. It's been a few days now. There's been some good stuff. Let's lead off with the positive, I suppose. Capping bus fares, yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's like the easiest win possible.
Yeah.
There is no easier win to tell the public we fucked Keith off and put him into the sun where he belongs. And by that I mean the celestial object, not the newspaper.
True.
And the first thing we're going to do is take the stupid thing where he froze fuel duty but made the public transport more expensive, and we're going to put it in the fucking bin. Right? Super easy to come in and be liked by going, Ishal ID, gone. Scrapping jury trials, gone. Bus fare increase, gone. All that shit that you hate, all gone.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, scrapping VAT on energy fares, energy prices, all that sort of stuff. Rate cut for high street businesses. Yeah, okay, that seems like a perfectly reasonable thing. But the caveat with all of that, of course, is how's it being paid for? Now, I'm not doing the Tory thing of literally just going, oh my God, you can't spend money on schools. How are you going to pay for it? It's going to bankrupt us. No, we can pay for it, but how is he going to pay for it? So there are essentially three options, right? You've got more borrowing, more tax, or cuts. And he's officially ruled out the first two, so fuck the poor, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, he said that he was going to increase business rates on, like, gambling shops and vape shops to make sure they could do the discount on pubs. Remember, it was like £100 million, literally nothing. Basically cost nothing to get this discount to pubs, clubs, and music venues. Yeah. But he says he's going to increase it on vape shops and gambling places. And I'm just like, well, if once those things go, you'll not get that increase. But second of all, I'm just like, cool, I'm glad you're attacking high street gambling. It's a massive problem and incredibly socially deleterious.
Yes.
But you've also just appointed people who've literally taken bungs from like the Betting and Gaming Council and put them like in ministerial positions.
True, and again, the reason that I'm very sceptical as to how he's going to fund any of these things is the fact that he's got fucking Bommy McBombface as the Chancellor, which was fucking mental, who's going to obviously try and eviscerate the disabled in order to try and buy more tanks or something, and he's kept the Crypt Keeper in general, our old friend McFadden, as work and pensions. So again, it's going to be more, have we tried killing all the poor as a solution to everything?
I mean, Pat McFadden being in place is the biggest like red flag. That and Shabana Mahmood. That's why they went in the lowest tier in my cabinet tier list that I did on stream.
Yes, yeah. The Shaban Opticon is still in force, so that's awesome. I mean, literally, just having Healy as Chancellor was enough for me. He's kept the Panopticon. Yeah, fuck this guy.
I mean, like, at the very least, it will leave us in the kind of the best position of we will criticise Labour when they do bad things and we'll praise them when they do good things, rather than we will work with the Labour Party, right? Like, that is the best position that we can get to now, is that, cool, these things that you're doing are good, we'll appreciate those, but we're still going to be a heavy critic because all the bad stuff you're still doing.
True. Yeah. Also, is Wes Streeting the shittest politician ever?
I mean, I genuinely think Shabana Mahmood is.
Well, yeah, but she didn't get caught on camera, like, joking about releasing, like, rapists and murderers?
Well, wasn't she joking about it with Wes Streeting? Weren't they joking about it together?
Right, but he was the one that was caught
True.
saying, like, oh, he's the enemy now, or something like that. Like, it he's just a profoundly inept creature. I don't know how he's gotten to that level.
And that's true, but Wes Streeting also did say that Israel is a go into the gulag.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm assuming she's going to be arresting Wes Streeting then.
Presumably so. Yes, presumably so. Yeah.
Actually, on the subject, while we're talking about like the cost of living measures and like the immediate policies, we should watch this clip because it's just like the most Westminster bubble coded shit you've ever heard in your life, right?
Right.
Watching this clip because like it starts off okay, and then it genuinely makes me want to scream at the end of it.
Okay, it is for it's
my family.
It's from the Times Radio, so automatically it's going to be horrific.
I mean, quite literally. And it's also a clip from the podcast that used to have Peter Mandelson on it.
Oh, okay, so the last bastion of the nonces. Cool. Alleged. Yes, okie dokie. 1 second. Boop. Hang on, that is not right. There we go. Right. Can we bigger that? No, that just pops it out.
I'll bigger it. Make me hands.
There you go. Anyway.
It's tiny wedge.
Anyway, inshallah.
I went to the pub with my family at the weekend for lunch, and I was reminded that the government reduced VAT on children's meals over the summer, and I was like, oh my, completely forgotten about that. That is a ludicrous, silly bung, right? Of just sort of randomly pouring water into the sand.
What? Helping people to A, feed their children, and B, help out struggling local businesses is a thing the government shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, quite like she's comparing it to Eat Out to Help Out, which was a giant like incineration of money by the state during a pandemic where it was like a super spreader event that made everything like significantly worse in ways that no one could possibly have foreseen beforehand, right? And this is just, let's make it so that kids can eat a bit cheaper.
Yeah, like the Eat Out to Help Out was, like you say, a massive waste of money and was essentially the national equivalent of Britain as a nation licking doorknobs.
Like a chickenpox party for something which you don't become immune to.
Yeah, it's like if we went, you know what, plague rats are awesome. Let's invite them into our house.
Not like Eat Out to Help Out during the pandemic, though even less justified.
Also, let's not breeze past the fact that it also sounds a little bit like it's an invitation to cunnilingus.
True.
Because it is. And that's funny. Americans definitely laughed at us.
Also, good point as well from chat, like, she forgot that the government had reduced VAT on children's school meals, right? Yeah, of course you've forgotten, because you've never had to worry about whether you can afford your children's food. You've never decided not to go out for food because you couldn't afford it, because you are Polly Mackenzie, the advisor to Nicholas Clegg, who we will get to later, chat. Don't you fucking worry, we'll get to Nick Clegg. Who was the person who literally tweeted out about how they swapped benefit cuts for 5p bags. This is literally the 5p bag lady right here going, oh, I never knew they reduced VAT on private school fee. Well, private. I never remembered that. I didn't remember they reduced VAT on children's meals. I'm like, yeah, of course you didn't. The cost of everyday essentials has not been a concern of you for literal decades, potentially ever.
Yeah. Exactly. The person who doesn't have to worry about whether they can afford a thing when they go to buy a thing didn't know that the government had reduced its price because they'd never had to consider that. Ever. Yeah, Yeah, obviously, because you're a rich cunt. Yeah, we know.
I mean, people in chat saying like going to a pub, food, kids' meals would not be a great way to feed your kids in terms of expense. We all, I know that's perfectly reasonable to say, but there are families who are not like on the breadline, who are not like flush with cash, who would very much like to be able to at some point go out for a meal with the kids at least once a month or once a week or whatever it is, and reducing the threshold at who that applies to by cutting the VAT on the kids' food at the very least means that makes it more likely for some.
Also, and again, I don't want to attack the person who said that because I'm sure that's a legitimate like point they're making, but we need to dream slightly bigger than the system allows us to right now. I'm making a slightly broader point here, in that I think everyone should have the ability to be able to go into a pub and buy their child a fucking meal. I don't think that is a lavish, crazy notion. I think we as a nation are rich enough, and we as a species are clever enough, ingenious enough to be able to come up with a system whereby you can go in and buy a fucking pub lunch for your 2 sprogs. I don't think that's a crazy notion, and the fact that that's going to be open to more people is a thing that the government should be doing. That I like. Again, I'm not attacking you, viewer. I presume you made your point in good faith, but you're allowing the system's propaganda to rot your brain, and that's something you need to work on internally, I believe.
Yes, viewer, you need to go home and think about your life.
Well, no, everyone does.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
What's the old thing about you have to kill the cop in your own mind?
True.
Like the system puts the propaganda in your head for a fucking reason, you know?
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting about Andy Burnham's the 2 immediate bungs, is they are actually cleverer than that.
Remind us of those bungs.
So the first one...
Also, just the framing of it as a bong, rather than the government doing anything. Because again, these people are so obsessed with the neoliberal notion that the government is essentially there to just give out public money to private companies and not help people in any way whatsoever. They're essentially a commissioning body which gives money to Deloitte, and that's it. The idea of giving people money, that's a bong. Giving my friends in the city money, that's not a bong. That's sensible, serious briefcase politics. No. Allowing people to go to a fucking pub and buy a Sunday roast is a disgusting bong, and it should be illegal.
Is cutting VAT on electricity prices. And again, it's not fuel prices, it's electricity prices. Yeah. And actually... And it's interesting, he hasn't mentioned this. They haven't talked about this as a transition to net zero thing. They haven't tried to invoke a culture war. They've just said they want to give people some money back. But actually, one of the structural things we need to do in the energy market is reduce the comparative price of electricity and gas. And doing this, especially if they can carry it on for the long term, makes buying a heat pump or switching to an electric car more viable. So they're just telling a story of cutting the cost of living, but they're actually doing something that's much smarter than encouraging people to spend money at the pub, however fun that is. And again, the buses thing.
However fun that is. Like, it's so condescending. Like, the fact that people have, like, a rare treat of going to the pub is something that should be only available to you. That's a thing that only rich people should be able to enjoy. Clearly.
Again, like, what do you get from neoliberal governments as well? Like, especially cultural neoliberalism that's been kind of infested into society by 50 years of neoliberal governance. It's just this kind of broad skepticism of policy directed at normal people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, there must be, like, communism behind this. There must be some kind of ulterior motive rather than just the government being allowed to do good things. It was why so many kind of politicos in America just couldn't get the rise of Mamdani.
Yeah.
They couldn't get the rise of him because they, in their mind, they have this block about the government doing good things in the interest of people because they don't believe that's the role of government. Like, you can see that from the way she's framed this. Again, she isn't wrong. It is genuinely true that incentivizing people to go with electricity and make gas more expensive creates an incentive structure that forces people to get heat pumps. I agree. She's not wrong in the slightest in the way that she's framing this. But the fact that it's in the context of, well, it's not just a silly bung. And I was like, it would be good if it was just reducing the cost of bills and make it easier for people, right? Like, that's good in its own vacuum, despite the net positive externalities that it applies to how people consume things. But in their mind, The single role of government is to facilitate the private sector doing things rather than to do things itself.
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, it's a commissioning body. It's not a thing that
100%.
it's not a thing that acts. It's a thing that is acted through. And the fact that the government is going, actually, no, we can at least tinker at the edges. And let's be honest, this isn't radical change. This is tinkering at the edges. It's just, at least it was tinkering at the edges, as opposed to Keir Starmer, which was basically, let's ignore the problem and just to deal with the dress code and hope it goes away. Right, at least he is actually tinkering at the edges and will have some minor benefit. Actually, it might have the bus fare stuff, if carried through properly, that might have a significant effect.
I agree.
The energy stuff might have a significant effect. We'll wait and see. But like, again, it depends how they fund it ultimately.
Much more sensible than some of the train freeze things, train fare freezes that the previous Labour government did, because the evidence is clear that actually for people who are at the margins of the labour market, particularly younger people, particularly people who are not taking home very much money, actually if it costs you like £8 or £9 to get to work and back every day, the viability of going to work and also your kind of travel radius of jobs you can take. So actually, it's...
And your ability to travel to interviews. Because like,
Also,
at least if you're spending £9 to go and earn £50, that makes sense. If you're having to spend £9 on the opportunity that you might be one of 20 people fighting for one job, not really viable, is it?
But again, the framing here is just people on the margins of the labour market, just poor people. Just say poor people, right? Like, of course, it's perfectly reasonable to talk about the positive externalities of the ability for this to make the labour market more dynamic, right? This is basically what she's saying, and she's right. But the actual point of the policy is it's expensive for the poor people to get the bus. Let's make it cheaper for poor people to get the bus, which is, again, a far easier sell to the public and good of its own accord. Even if it had no effects on the wider labour market dynamism more broadly, it would still be good policy. But they don't see it like that.
Because again, the government isn't there to facilitate people; it's there to facilitate economy. And so people aren't really people; they are units of labour. And these are the units of labour on the edge of the labour market. Because we're all just little robots in their game of capitalism.
Sounds like a bung. It's economically much more sound than lots of other bungs that could have been chosen.
That was a fascinating answer. Why don't they talk about
That was a fascinating answer. You're completely correct. And not at all a dullard.
Again, like, at the very least, when it comes to Polly Mackenzie, you know, she is sceptical enough to, despite the brain poison she has about looking at quote-unquote bungs and getting mad about the fact that good things have been done in the interest of the population, right? At least she's found a rationalisation for why they're good. Like, this guy's like, wow, I didn't think doing good things for people could have positive externalities. He's literally got his mind fried by the idea that actually getting cheaper buses might be good, actually. Like, he didn't even consider that it might be a good thing from first principles. He has to be explained to it like he was a child why cheaper bus prices might be good even in a broader externality sense rather than just on the basis of the actual policy.
Yeah. Like, simple minds are fascinated by simple things. And he found that answer fascinating.
about it in those terms? Why are they doing... I mean, the way you portray it is like they're doing stuff that's very, very clever, but allowing people to go, this is just bung, this is nonsense, this is retail.
Well, partly...
Again, they've got it arse backwards. It's not that there's a Machiavellian scheme and they're allowing people to think it's not that. It's that they're just trying to sort of make people's lives slightly better, and there are positive externalities to it as well.
Exactly. Because he can't even fathom the idea that you just use the government to make people's lives easier.
No, it has to be a Machiavellian, evil, leftist plot, because the government is a bunch of communoids. And therefore, but also it might make people's lives better. Who'da thunk it? Like, come on, man. Like, how rotted away is your fucking soul at this point?
Also, by the way, pause 1 sec. David Louse in chat. Well, it depends where you're from. If you're from south areas like London, it's rich people that get public transport, whereas in the north, poor people do internal cross subsidy. I mean, if you're poor in London, you get the bus, right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets the tube, rich or poor. And there are obviously like sole traders who are not rich but not poor either, who do a lot of driving. A lot of the driving is being done by sole traders and people in white vans or whatever it is, or People like that, right? Again, they're not on the margins, but they're not rich either. But everyone uses the tube. But it's basically only poor people who use the bus in London. Because in fact, bus usage is massively declining in London. There are not enough poor people who need to use it who use it. The level of bus usage in London is incredibly low, which is why Sadiq Khan actually did a bunch of like bus fare cuts and made it so that your one bus ticket takes you on multiple buses as long as you use it within a certain time period. Because they had to incentivize people to use the bus because no one was fucking using it. Because everyone in London's rich now.
Well, true, and also because he's a Muslim, he made all bus routes go east. They all face east now.
So that's why they did the water. So they but it was like the Bakerloo line, but on a bus. So there was an extra line going towards Mecca, pointing towards Saudi Arabia.
Literally.
Because they're actually interested in the retail message. And people say about Andy Burnham that he just wants to be liked. And it's perfectly possible for that to be a deficit of character.
Well, yes and no. But ultimately, if his version of being liked is because he's done good things, it's more like he wants to be admired. That I don't mind particularly in a leader. It's the desire to be loved that is dictatorial. If you just want to be admired because you've achieved things, okay, that's cool. Well, go and achieve them then, I guess. That's fine. Like, virtually every great leader in history had that. Now, of course, many of them wanted to be loved. They were dictators and despots and all the rest of it. Andy Burnham is not that. If he just wants to make people's lives better and be popular, well, in a democracy, that's actually rather a good thing.
True. I mean, again, it goes back to the Mamdani question, where they're just always doing these things to try and make people like him, make himself popular. And I'm just like, do you think that, filling potholes is bad? Do you think that providing childcare is bad? Like, I don't think many people think this is like he's popular because he's doing things that people wanted, right? Like, that's politics.
Yeah. And has become more popular since getting into office, regardless, which is like almost unheard of in the neoliberal era, because when you get into office, you then break all the promises you made. Whereas he went, actually, no, let's do those things I said. And it's actually worked quite well. He even came out and did that video calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal. The man's an awesome guy. Love it. Who'd have thunk it? You make promises to people, you fulfil those promises, people like you.
It was super difficult for neoliberals to understand because they're so used to getting into office and going, oh, actually, things are very difficult. We have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah. I can't believe Mamdani is not a sensible politician. He's doing student politics because he didn't get in and go, 26 billion black hole, lads. Actually, we're going to have to start digging more potholes. Sorry.
There was an article in the New Statesman today, or was it might have been yesterday, by Ollie Dugman. It was yesterday. Called "Stop Calling Keir Starmer a Good Man," which very good article. We should probably read it after we've gone through this and and I saw some of the quote tweets going, I can't believe they're attacking Keir Starmer for making difficult decisions, and I'm just like, I just quote tweet it with, I found one in the wild, someone doing the actually turning the disability wood chipper off is student politics meme.
Yeah, because that's literally what they think. Yeah, it's sensible politics to lie to people and then be shit in office. That's literally the neoliberal way. But the thing is, the neoliberal consensus is if all the major parties are like that, then they have no reason but to vote for one of us, and we can just carry this on forever, which of course doesn't work.
Also, incredibly good point from Waluigi Mangione in chat, right? Like,
I mean, firstly, big ups to the name. Beautiful.
Incredible name, absolutely. Right, but whenever it comes to, like, economic policy that's of the left, it's always being talked about, this high level of skepticism from our media, as if all it is there is for pandering to people and giving bungs, for example, and caving to populism in terms of policy, Yeah. And yet, the anti-immigration policy is solely being done in response to public polling and, like, the baseline levels of public opinion, chasing the public opinion and pandering to anti-immigration types, when we know full well it's going to be economically damaging to this country. We know full well it will accelerate all of our problems with the nation society. We know it's going to continue to eat into overall productive capacity in the economy to cut this stuff. We're already going to see the collapse of the university sector, which harms our trade deficit as well. And never does any of these people in the, like, centrist or right-wing media ever discuss it in those same terms. Oh, it is pandering to reform voters. It's necessary to think about the anxieties of the North and their skepticism of migration. I'm just like, no, it's bad. Say that it's bad. Talk about the economics of this. We had to wait for fucking Rory Stewart to come on Question Time to talk about why cutting immigration was economically bad, right? When Rory Stewart's the only fucking voice of reason, we've had a problem.
Yeah, that is pretty rough. Sure. Segue with the hot take. Mamdani's call for Netanyahu's arrest is silly and self-serving. Bernie does it too. Proposed popular thing knowing it won't happen. I mean, yeah, he can call for a thing he knows won't happen, but he's still calling for it. Like, it would have been easy. The path of least resistance is to still ostensibly hold a pro-Palestine position and do nothing about it. Whereas he went out of his way to make a statement about this and say that this should happen, regardless of whether he thinks it can happen or not. It's not really in his power to do anything about it, really. And so he did, I think, the only thing you can do, which is call for the right thing and then get on with the things you can do. Look, in a way it's self-serving, but again, if you want to be popular in a democracy, that's probably a good thing.
I mean, even if it's just virtue signaling, good. I'm glad literally any politician is having the gumption to come out and call a spade, right?
Yeah.
For actually telling it like it is, you know. We have every single politician in the fucking across the Anglosphere washing their hands of going, oh, isn't it terrible, the conflict in Gaza? It's a genocide. Call it a genocide. There is a warrant for his arrest in the ICC. Get that motherfucker behind bars.
Yep.
But it's not automatically a problem. You know, actually, if you want everyone to hate you, then really don't go into politics, right? Or if you don't care what people think of you, that you need a kind of thick skin. But actually, the idea of wanting to listen to people.
Also, just on a broader point, the people who say that they don't care what people think about them are mostly full of shit. And the only people who do actually genuinely not care about what people think of them are the people who most should care what other people think of them.
Literally.
Because they're like the worst fucking people.
And
like, Elon Musk is bizarrely a combination of all of them.
It's like this.
When he's on drugs, I think he doesn't care what people think about him. But when he's sober, he really, really cares what people think about him, and he's awful in both states.
No, this it's like the kind of people you get in the casting call for The Apprentice. Like,
yes,
the thing about me is I always speak my mind, and I'm like, yeah, that makes you a sociopath.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. What you
the
are
rest
is
of the rest of us have a filter system. I was saying, I might not say that; it might upset people.
Yeah, what you're basically saying is, I'm a wanker. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've met loads of people like you. Yeah, maybe you should shut the fuck up. Because if I said what I think about you, I'd get arrested.
Give them, where it's possible, where it makes sense, the things that will improve their lives. Like, that's not a problem, actually.
I've got a problem with it in message terms. I've got a problem with it as an indication of strategy, insofar as it was intended to...
Oh my god. So, okay, Mr. Finkelstein has a problem with the concept of a politician in a popular democracy wanting to be popular. Okay, everyone. I mean, get ready for some of the biggest brain shit you're about to hear. This is going to be fun.
To indicate strategy. I personally don't think that is going to work. It's a little bit better if you think of it in Polly's way, but my view is that the right things to do were some striking things which indicate their growth strategy. But, you know, let's face it, they've been...
So you, as a Conservative, wanted him to do Conservative things?
And also, like, cheaper buses is a growth strategy. People will have more money to spend on consumption and better economic mobility, as Polly pointed out, is literally a growth strategy.
No, but you're ignoring the neoliberal, like, brain hemorrhage that all of these people have had, where he doesn't mean growth strategy, he means giving public money to private enterprise, not allowing people to exist.
True.
So when he says growth strategy, he means how can he give more money to Palantir? Not how can he allow someone to get to work and it not cost them all of their wages for the day, you know?
Well, the Gatestone Institute, clearly, if it's Italian Finkelstein.
Well, yeah, okay. Whichever particular set of absolute evil bastards, whichever demonic hellscape from the depths of Satan's arsehole he happens to be funded by, it is irrelevant to the general point.
In office for 2 or 3 days, he's clearly appointed a chancellor who wasn't the anticipated candidate, so you know, you can't expect them all to have aligned on that kind of immediate policy.
Brilliant. So Normal Finkelstein and Hugo Rifkind, two of the most stealing a living people in the country. Awesome.
Rifkind might be one of the biggest.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
To be fair, The Nick Clegg interview we're about to watch is with Matt Chorley, who's definitely in that realm as well.
And I'll give Finkelstein he has actually been involved in politics. Like, was he an advisor to Cameron or some shit like that? Yeah. So, like,
William P.
Finkelstein? I don't think he was. No.
What's in the Lords now, but...
I think, no, he is Lord Finkelstein, yeah, but I don't think he was ever an MP. But I think he was an advisor to Cameron or something. Anyway, he's been involved in politics, so that's fine. Yeah. Whereas Rifkind is literally just, he came out of the right set of bollocks.
Oh, he stood in an election but didn't win his seat.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, yes.
Balance.
Yeah, absolute balance, completely. Right. Okay. Do we want to do?
We've got the things I was thinking we should do was the Nick Clegg interview on Newsnight, which genuinely made me want to scream the clips that I saw. And then there's Jeremy Corbyn going after Burnham over the Iran bases.
Yeah, I've got the Iran bases. Is that the LBC interview?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I've got that up now. If you want to do that, or do you want to do?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
First. Okie doke.
Yeah.
So
we'll put Corbyn in a Lib Dem sandwich.
Nice. Anyway, Hitler doesn't want to bomb Iran. Breaking news.
Mr. Corbyn, thanks very much indeed for being back with us on LBC again this evening.
He's such a boomer, isn't he?
He's got, honestly, as soon as that came up, my initial thought was, okay, this is your nan who can't work the FaceTime? No, Nan, you don't have to shout. It's a telephone, I can hear you. Why have you got it to your ear? It's a fucking camera. Oh, I don't know. And then he thinks he's fucking hung up, and you can hear him taking a shit for the next 10 minutes.
I mean, can I start by asking...
He's literally... Hang on, did you see? He was talking and he was muted.
For being back with us on LBC again this evening. I mean, can I start by asking...
I mean, presumably he's not in control of that, but it just adds to the whole leftist tech aura.
Oh, surely this is his last time in Parliament. Clearly, it has to be. please don't Feinstein us, Jez. Don't ruin it. No,
he's like Leo Messi. He's going to be here in 2 Parliaments' time, and he'd just be like, "How are you still alive? What?"
No, clearly, if we can do old footballers playing past that, it's got to be Ronaldo, surely.
Well, no, because Ronaldo's shit. Whereas Corbyn, I think, Corbyn's still got a little bit of the man. He's not the player he once was, but he's still got a little something, you know?
That's true.
Asking you about that question that I was posing there at the very end. I mean, we're seeing a lot of action, a lot of very early moves by Andy Burnham, including the first move that he took, a pledge to end rough sleeping, which I know...
Yeah, I do have to say, I am genuinely interested to see what goes on with that, because he decided to make that his big, like, not mic drop as such, but like the bit literally on his first speech in Downing Street. That's a big pledge. I genuinely hope he follows through with it, because that would be a genuinely big change and an improvement for everyone.
I pointed out when I was on stream, like, Andy Burnham isn't stupid. He knows full well. He will have seen the clip of Jeremy Corbyn saying that made my opening gambit in the front of Downing Street. He knows he's channeling Corbyn. Right? Yeah. It's obvious why he's done it.
Yeah.
And the question, of course, is will he succeed, and will the rest of his governance mirror what Corbyn was doing? Given what we're going to discuss now, I have my doubts, plenty of doubts. So thank you, CG Man, for the £5 super chat as well.
Well, this is a thing that I mused on a while back, is the idea of having essentially a kind of leftist who hides their power level and essentially ignores the Israel thing. Now, it's not a morally correct position, but it might be the best that we can realistically do at the time, given the situation we're in. And so it could be that he just goes, fuck it, we'll just hold fire and do exactly the same thing we were always doing on foreign policy, and I'll just focus domestic.
I mean, that kind of would be the thing that would be the easiest to sneak through.
Well, exactly,
Mr. Finkelstein reminds CG Man of the old East India Company viceroys whom my Indian forefathers wrote about in their times.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know he was carried around by, like, several brown people in one of those, big, what do they call them? Not gondola. Like a gondola, but not. Anyway.
is something that you did on the first day of your leadership of the Labour Party. But why couldn't some of these things have been done before? It seems extraordinary that there can suddenly be such a frisson of action by the same party in government, even though it now has...
A frisson of action? I don't think that's the word you meant, is it? Because a frisson is like a small amount of. Anyway.
It's a different leader. Good evening.
Good evening, and very fair point. I'm very pleased that Andy has announced the end of rough sleeping homelessness. I hope that that means the money will quickly go to local authorities in order to provide the accommodation for them. That is absolutely essential, but it has to go a lot further because the housing situation is dire. The housing of people in the private rented sector is incredibly expensive. The local housing allowance, which is the allowance paid for housing benefit, does not meet anywhere near the average rent level. In fact, in my borough, it's only 2% of the properties come within the LHA.
You see, he's still got some of the old magic in that left foot. It's still there.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Look, you're not going to get 90 minutes out of him, but he's good, you know?
Oh, so you think he's Romelu Lukaku then?
Yeah, he's fat Romelu Lukaku, but he can still get you a goal.
Right, bring him on injury. Bring him on 10 minutes before the end.
Exactly, yeah. But hope it doesn't go to extra time, because then you're fucked. You're just going to have a big, fat, sweaty mess taking a penalty. Palanquin was the phrase I was looking for, thank you.
And so he's got to do a lot more than that, and obviously the building of council housing, all of which I absolutely welcome. So, yes, good start on rough sleeping homelessness, but an awful lot more to do. A third of our population, almost, in many parts of the country, live in the private rented sector. They're paying through the nose on very high rents. We need rent control.
No, but thankfully Bez has bent the knee and we're not doing rent control at all in England, so...
Yeah, literally, like, after Andy Burnham called for rent control whilst he was Mayor of Greater Manchester to be given the powers from Westminster.
Yeah, but that was just for Manchester, because Manchester are special and they deserve things that the country doesn't deserve.
I mean, it's not wrong.
On the VAT relief for home electricity bills, Darren Jones suggested yesterday that you couldn't just divert money from the digital ID to that, because he claimed...
Well, I mean, you can, you're the government. And secondly, Darren Jones, look, he's just not that into you. Let it go, okay? Look, you don't need to be a bunny boiler about this. You've been rejected. Suck it up, put on your big girl pants, and get going, yeah?
It was unfunded. Do you have a sense of exactly where things stand and where the money is going to come from, not just to pay for the VAT relief, but of course for all the other things that Andy Burnham is now already doing, including the £2 cap on bus fares?
My understanding was that no money had been earmarked for the digital IT, which I welcome its cancellation of. I always thought it was a ridiculous and intrusive idea they were doing. So I'm good that it's going, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's any money going to be freed up, because I never thought any had been allocated. I'm happy to be proved.
It's so perfectly Starmer. A shit policy that no one wanted, that he hadn't put a penny towards. Brilliant.
Literally, Darren Jones just admitting, actually, this policy that we said that we were going to do, that you say you're going to save money with, we never allocated money for it in the first place. I'm like, yeah, that's worse, right?
Yeah.
You know that makes that worse.
Yeah, so you were lying to everyone. You realise that? You realise what you just admitted to the entire country, Darren?
It's fine, we'll just take away digital ID's pocket money.
True. Well, digital ID needs to stop having so much avocado toast. That's what I reckon.
So true. The fucking... how graceless these digital IDs are.
Wrong if that's the case, which means that the cut in VAT will obviously mean a loss of some income from the Treasury. It will save people around £45–50 a year, which is not massive, but is obviously better than nothing. So this leads then on to the question of taxation. And during the Makerfield by-election, Andy Burnham did say that he was concerned about the tax threshold, at the moment $12,500 a year, frozen at that figure, which means that with inflation, another 500.
See, and he was concerned about it, but not concerned enough to do anything about it.
I mean, well, just like everybody who says they want to increase the tax-free threshold, they talk about it because it sounds very good, and then you get into office and go, "This would cost a huge amount. It would mostly give a tax cut to middle earners rather than to rather people on the lower end, because literally everyone gets the tax discount. So it's much better to just increase benefits.
Yeah.
Well, if you really want to help people at the bottom of the income threshold, you tax the rich and you give it to the poor.
Yeah.
Giving everyone a tax cut just depletes the treasury.
But the lessons of Sherwood Forest have still not been learned 700 years later.
It's just frustrating, right? Because the massive increase in the tax-free threshold that we got in the 2010s, that was a Nick Clegg policy. Again, we will come to Nick Clegg, you know? They were desperate.
Look, I knew you really wanted to go on Nick Clegg. I didn't realise how chomping at the bit to absolutely tear into Nick Clegg you were.
I fucking hate him. I mean, I have actual beef for someone who voted for him as well. So. But like, that was a Clegg era policy. Like, they threw away so much of their manifesto that they wanted to get into office in their coalition with the Conservative Party to get this big cut, this big increase in the tax-free threshold. And it's just, again, entirely neolib coded, right? Like, it sounds really good to everybody who gets it, because literally everyone gets a tax cut, but it's just a broad tax cut for everybody, right? It's all it does is deplete resources for the state. And again, they did this at the same time as cutting welfare. So in reality, the utility was rich people got richer and poorer people got poorer. Yeah. Despite the fact that everyone was paying less tax, it meant the overall share of the economy that was going to working and poorer people was lower, because everyone got the tax cut. But the benefits that were specifically aimed at people at the bottom, they were the ones that were cut by the government too, to pay for this tax cut, essentially for rich people.
Yeah.
100,000 people will be brought into taxation between now and 2030, which means that the very poorest people will be paying more in tax. I think there's a very strong case for, first of all, linking the threshold to inflation. Secondly, raising the threshold initially to 15,000 and later higher than that, thus taking the lowest paid out of taxation altogether, which would be a real benefit to the poorest and lowest paid.
You see, Lukaku fell over. Oh.
But again, this is where I think I have come out of love with a lot of the left broadly, because I think a lot of left-wing people hear this and they want to see. I mean, it was a big thing. Remember that person in Question Time for Makerfield said, "I want to vote for you, Andy, but if you increase the tax threshold, you'll win automatically, right?" And I'm just like, again, it's not actually going to benefit in that way. And I just want to. I know that lots of people have different opinions. I don't know what your opinion is. I know that Curtis kind of sort of agreed with me on this, and I just think we have too much of an opinion of this country that tax is something somebody else should pay. And I'm like, everyone should pay tax. Of course, I am glad we have a progressive tax system, and these are things that I think are broadly a social good. But if we continue to say, like, let's just cut taxes forever, and that can be our policy prospectus, but we can't make our tax system too lopsided on one end, otherwise we will have an exodus of high earners, for example, skilled high, not just like people making money off dividends, but people who do really important jobs that just happen to command a high salary, like doctors and engineers and people like that, right? But the issue, of course, is that the less that the people expect to pay tax, the more that they will have a thermostatic reaction to when you do increase taxation. You put a penny on income tax because we want to create a social contract that everyone pays into, and people will say, well, it's not my job to pay tax because I'm on the bottom end. I'm like, it's everyone's job to pay tax. Obviously, people who have more money should pay more. And there are people in this country who have enormous amounts of wealth who basically pay no tax at all, who obviously need to pay more tax, right? But the idea that means that tax is something somebody else should pay, I think that's a real damaging kind of framework that a lot of people in this country think in.
Yes, and I think that just generally the policy he's outlining here is a fantastically inefficient way of helping the poorest. That's the problem I have. It's not that it wouldn't help the poorest, it would, but it would disproportionately help other people. But again,
and it's also just kind of neoliberal too, right? Like, insofar as the only way we can conceive of helping somebody is by taking them out of tax, rather than giving them money from the state, which would be better and is more socialist.
Yeah.
In the country, and at the other end, you'd have to change the threshold for the higher earners, and I think that would be a fair thing to do. To say we're taking 500,000 people out of tax and we're putting more tax on at the top end of the scale. That would be real redistribution of wealth. No, he hasn't come up with that idea yet, but I think that's the sort of area that he needs to move into.
I mean, we've seen very mixed messaging coming from Mr. Burnham and his camp over the last 36 hours on both of those.
Mudkip Gal says, how much is the leaving threat an actual threat and not just a bluff? I mean, it depends upon the level of investment that you have. In fact, there is a much smaller argument for wealthy people leaving the country than there is for high earners leaving the country, because you usually have assets tied up in a country if you're fabulously wealthy. You have businesses, you have property, you have all of these things that are part and parcel of the British state, which is why they're so rich, because it's so important to society. If you're a high earning doctor, you may have a house. You don't have huge amounts of assets that you can't take with you. So if you're offered a better salary and lower taxes in Australia, you'll move, right? Like the incentive to move is significantly higher than for an oligarch who owns our water system, for example.
Yeah. You can't take a stately home to the Seychelles.
It's true, but you can just take your skills as a doctor, which is what you're marketable for.
Indeed, indeed. Yes.
Ideas.
Well, indeed, and the arguments on rent control are ones that have been continually pushed back on by the Starmer government. They brought in the renters bill, most of which was very welcome and good, but the fundamental problem is the cost of it, and they're going to have to deal with that, because we cannot go on being the most expensive place in Europe to live with the increasing level.
Well, to quote, or to channel Mick McCarthy, we can.
We can.
Of housing insecurity.
I love actually on a total aside, I do love the fact that the Mick McCarthy "it can" meme has just like spread across the world now.
Yeah,
the Americans all know what it is.
Yeah,
it's beautiful
because it's perfect. Yeah, it's like it's the bursting of a bubble. You know, it's the hope being crushed by realism, which everyone can attest to because we've all experienced it.
300,000 people living in insecure accommodation at the moment, and so ending street homelessness, great, but you've got to go on to do more than that. On the taxation issues, he will get a lot of flack if he does try and put more tax on at the top end, but you've got to look at it. We live in a very unequal society, and the very, very richest, the billionaire class, are getting very, very well off. 150 billionaires own 22% of the nation's wealth. I think.
Oh, Lukaku from 40 yards out. Go on, lad. he can't run, but he's a bagsman. Oh.
We need to have some serious talk about how we redistribute wealth within our society. We have appalling levels of poverty, appalling numbers of people, as the Roundtree Foundation are going to tell you later on, going without food, populating food banks, and food banks themselves are having trouble getting enough food to keep the needs of the people coming in satisfied. And so we can't be a society that relies on food banks for people. We need to be a society that pays people properly and doesn't have excessive cost of living, which means that people don't get enough to eat.
Now, back in 2015, when Mr.
Again, that shouldn't be controversial, and yet that is radical student politics.
100%. And again, and this feels so funny, like, this guy's just a soft demony. Like, everyone tries to say this was a radical Marxist. He's just a social democrat.
He would be a Labour centrist.
I mean, like
40 years ago,
you know, somebody who was like the paragon of like Labour right politics, who literally want to remove Clause 4. His manifesto as Labour leader was abolish landlords.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, like all I'm going to say is like, back when Labour was actually Labour, this motherfucker would have been on the right of the party. Like he didn't stand for getting rid of all landlords. He just wanted stronger, like, you know, regulation to stop like Rachmanist landlordism.
Yeah.
Mr. Burnham was seeking the Labour Party leadership. He said that if he'd won the contest, he would involve Jeremy Corbyn in his team from the outset. Has he reached out to you from the outset? What kind of conversations have you had? And is there any suggestion?
No, obviously not. What a silly question. I mean, you've got the man, so you might as well ask it, I guess. But like, obviously not.
I think the thing is that I genuinely think, given, you know, what Andy Burnham's kind of become nowadays and what he's clearly not wanting to do, I don't think he would care whether Jeremy Corbyn joined the party or not, right? I think he'd be perfectly fine, go like whatever.
No, I think he would.
Come back, I don't really care. And then like,
I think
no.
You're going, sorry. No, go on.
It's like, but no strategist would want to turn this into a headline.
Well, that's the reason. Like, the reason he would not be allowed back in. I mean, I don't think he'd want to join because he's already got your party. But
My party.
yeah, your party. Yeah. He wouldn't want to rejoin. But even if he did, I don't think they'd have him just because the baggage. Like, even if they think, like, oh, well, actually, it's not that big a deal. We don't actually think he's an anti-Semite. That was all bollocks, and we all know that was bollocks. The headline would be Hitler welcomed back into the, you know, the Nazi party or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
That you, with Andy Burnham at the helm in number 10, might find a way back to the Labour benches.
Well, in answer to the last part first, no, there is no indication of that whatsoever, and I wasn't expecting one either. I have met Andy Burnham in...
But why not just come out and say you don't want to rejoin the party? Why would you want to? How many people on those benches have called you a Nazi? Like you,
It's literally self-selected for people who think he's one.
Yeah, like you'd sit next to fucking Luke Akehurst.
How's that going to work?
Yeah, a fly on the wall at that fucking PLP meeting.
Parliament. We had a very pleasant conversation. I congratulated him on winning and therefore his opportunity of becoming Prime Minister, and talked about some of the issues that are faced that we've been through here. So I do think that his government needs to be assertive, and I think some of the people, for change that is, some of the people he's appointed, particularly Shabana Mahmood, fills me with a great deal of misgiving, because she has pursued this policy of attacking people on indefinite leave to remain, and if she carries that policy through, that is going to be very, very serious for our public services, and not least for the mental health of those people that are in this country legally and working very hard, and now threatened with losing that status.
And can I just close?
Lukaku holds the ball up well as well. Can't be said.
Yeah.
He's doing a solid job. He's putting in a shift.
Close the loop on the Labour Party issue. You personally have no aspiration of returning to the Labour benches. End of story.
Absolutely. The Labour Party expelled me from membership, and didn't even acknowledge my 50 years membership, and merely sent me an advice.
It would be the most leftist thing ever would be if he tried to rejoin the Labour Party and your party kicked him out for joining a separate organisation. And he was then just like an independent guy in Parliament again, getting kicked out of the party that you fucking stitched up in the first place. Oh, Stalinist purges. You gotta love her.
Just note that if I felt upset about it, I could phone the Samaritans, and told me there was no appeal against it.
Okay, and let me ask you finally tonight about the future of British policy towards President Trump's war in Iran. He, as you know, is threatening tonight once again to strike Iranian civilian infrastructure, bridges and power plants.
And he and his friends will have made billions betting on short-selling fucking oil futures or whatever. Yeah, that's what he does. That's the cycle now, and will be the cycle for the rest of his term.
It's like a win-win as far as you're the Trump campaign, right? You get to do the diplomacy thing that you've been doing ever since Venezuela. You bomb something, you kill some people, and then you go, look what we can do for you. Look what we'll do to you if you don't do what you want. Come out. If you don't do it, if you don't do exactly what we want, we will bomb you again. Would you like to come to the negotiating table, please? But it doesn't work with Iran because Iran holds the cards here, right? You have no cards, Mr. Trump. You got no cards at all. Like, he doesn't have the cards at all in this situation because of the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait that we now know is closed as well. Meaning basically no oil can flow out of the Gulf.
As always, the Straits are the problem.
True. Like, it's not even Pride Month anymore, and the Straits are still closed. You know,
yeah,
it's shut down, right? The Ayatollah really pulling out all the stops.
Literally.
But in terms of this negotiation, all it does is sour Iran and make a solution far less likely, right? He can't do his show of force style diplomacy anymore, and he doesn't understand why it's not working.
Yeah, but if you just do the same thing over and over and over again, it's bound to work, right?
True, that's what the idea is.
Yeah.
The UK continues to allow the United States to use bases here from which to launch attacks on Iran. do you believe that Mr. Burnham and Ed Miliband, his foreign secretary, should now be telling the United States that they've given that policy a
Oh yeah, did you see James O'Brien going on? He thinks that us allowing US bases puts a target on our back. He didn't say that when Keir Starmer was doing it, though. Apparently that was fine.
He's sensible.
Because he's sensible, yeah. Like, oh, he's just embarrassing. Really.
Literally, it is embarrassing. And Iran have literally said that they will attack us if we keep allowing the United States to use our bases. I'm like, stop!
That's war.
Just stop.
Yeah. If you do war, don't be surprised if someone wars back at you. That's how it works.
But again, like, in the mind of the Atlanticist, war is only a thing that the global south does.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny that we all mocked, quite rightly, the language from Putin of quote-unquote special military operation. But that's how every single government in the West has defined their illegal wars of aggression from day fucking one. Special military operation in Afghanistan, special military operation in Iraq, right? And I'm like, yeah, like Putin was just doing the doing the Western playbook of violating the UN Charter and saying, well, we get to do it, we're a great power, you know?
But at least that some of the other powers are great powers. Russia's like the paper tiger going "Rawr," and no one's
that is
buying
basically
it.
true now.
Yeah.
Have you seen Russia have closed their bond auctions?
Is that a good sign? Is that a sign of a really good situation developing in Russia?
Yeah, like I don't know, like if you're really if you're worried about your finances, Putin, there's a really easy way of saving a lot of money real quick, right?
True. Yeah, thank you. Not really. Iran has been preparing for this for 47 years. Exactly, and it shows. It shows. Yep. Whereas Trump prepared for it in one meeting with a now dead former senator who coached the war criminal in chief, I suppose we should call him, Rapey McRapeface, who's rape Wakanda. He prepared for it for like 2 days.
Yep.
Didn't realise that the Straits of Hormuz would be closed. And
I mean, what's even better is he was warned about it.
Yeah.
JD Vance apparently warned him about the potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz, and he's ignored it.
Also, congratulations to JD Vance for having another baby this week. Good for him. Another example, miscegenation is awesome. Let's breed out the whites.
Also, another good point from Waluigi Mangione in chat. If Iran let Russia use their bases, would anyone say they weren't involved? 100%, or vice versa in terms of this conflict, you know? Like, in the same way that everyone pointed out, rightly, that Belarus were involved in the invasion of Ukraine because they allowed Russian military units to be able to refuel and use the bases in Belarus, right? We knew that it was a launching point for military columns down to Kyiv. Did we just try and claim that Belarus wasn't involved? No, we didn't.
Yeah. So honestly, we should be kicked out of FIFA. Like Belarus.
Unironically.
Yeah. Well, Argentina definitely should, but that's a different thing.
True.
What do you think?
Absolutely, they should be, because the war between the USA and Iran, for what aim is this war taking place? Trump has never made that clear. He spent billions.
Because he doesn't know. Benjamin Netanyahu knows, but he didn't tell Trump. He told Trump it would make him look like he had the biggest cock in the world. And Trump went, brilliant, let's do that then. Because he's a fucking idiot, a dilapidated, mentally strip-geared fool. Porridge for brains. So he went, yeah, let's do that. Let's definitely bomb this place, which will fold really easily if we just kill one old man.
Turns out that's not how that works.
Yeah, it's not how that works at all. Literally. And again, I do have to point out that there's the fucking strategy of if we kill the Ayatollah, that wipes out everything. Even though they literally have what's called a designated survivor. When there is an inauguration of a president, all the main bods are there in Washington. In case there's like a nuclear strike or some crazy shit and the entire government goes down, they have one person, usually a relatively minor person, who would then become president. They are flown to the other side of the country so that they are definitely alive. The USA prepares for the absolute eventuality of its entire government but one being killed so that it has a continuation of government. And they thought they could kill one old man and a nation of 70 million people would just collapse. Just think about the level of racism you have to engage in to think that your opponent is so savage, so backward, that they hadn't considered the same eventuality themselves.
When in reality, the Iranian negotiating team, according to Drop Site News, took psychological evaluators with them to the discussions with Donald Trump to analyze his mental state because they didn't think that he was mentally well enough to be engaging in negotiations, and therefore knew he wouldn't be acting in good faith or acting rationally. Right?
So they went, look, we can't sign a deal because that would be elder abuse. We can't do it. In our own, to save our own consciences, we can't take advantage of this man. Can you send one of your functioning adults, please? The guy with the eyelashes, yes, send him. He seems like at least he's got a working brain, you know?
Or already, it has cost...
Yeah, the fat baby man with the eyelashes, that lad. Him.
The lives of a lot of people in Iran. It's made the whole region very, very dangerous. It's shoved up oil prices all over the world. It's caused an economic problem in Europe, Far East, and all over the world. Sadly, Keir Starmer allowed the Trump administration to use British bases as a takeoff point to bomb Iran. Apparently, a request was made yesterday by President Trump, and bizarrely, Andy Burnham agreed that they could be used for a series of attacks. Well,
it's not bizarre at all. We've got continuation cum-sockery.
I mean, it makes sense to frame it as bizarre, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we all know that's how Atlanticism works, right? But go to the public and say, right, okay, brass tacks here. Andy Burnham coming in, I'm going to be the cost of living prime minister. Looks like from the first kind of blitz of policies, that's kind of the vibe he's going for. Kitchen table, bread and butter issues, let's drive down the price of essentials and the cost of living for regular people. Fine, good. We're all kind of behind that. You cannot simultaneously present yourself as the cost of living prime minister and directly involve yourself in the thing that's making life the most expensive at the moment, which is the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
I suppose, true, but I can get it if we ignore the morality of like bombing schools full of children for just a second. I know that's a weird one, but let's put it to one side for a second. If we just look at the financial realpolitik, Trump has literally today, in fact, announced his anti-forced labour tariffs. Now that's bollocks. He just wants to reinstall the same tariffs he had before that were ruled illegal, and that the Supreme Court, his own stacked Supreme Court said was illegal, and he couldn't do it. So now he's imposing it because countries don't take slavery or anti-slavery measures strong enough for his liking, because he really cares about that issue, obviously, and he's imposing those tariffs. So he's clearly on the tariff hunt again. So the last thing we want to do right now is annoy him, because he'll put a 200% tariff on us and destroy our economy. So if again, I understand the realpolitik of it. Once we had the morality back in, yeah, it's monstrous. It's fucking monstrous.
Even on top of the tariff thing, right? Like, I agree with your point and I understand the through line, but actually, in lots of cases, the worst thing you can do with Trump is totally see to all of his demands, because he treats you like a cuck, right? You know, it's like.
But Britain's used to that.
Once they get away with it, right? Once they get away with it, they will continually expect it. And as you saw from the meeting between Mamdani and Burnham, right? If you stand up to him and you talk in your own personal interest, you actually engage in the art of the deal.
Mamdani and Burnham, what?
Not on Trump, sorry.
Okay. So yeah. I was about to say, like, I didn't realise they had met. That was
Let me start that all again. Like, when you look at Mamdani and Trump, when they went into a negotiation, Mamdani went in with very specific demands. He didn't cede anything directly to Trump, and Trump recognised the art of the deal. Trump recognised the fact that he was standing up for the interests of New York City. That they had different opinions and different beliefs, and they came to negotiation based upon Mamdani negotiating from may not be a position of strength, but an attitude of strength. Yes. Taking a cuck attitude makes you mean. He means he'll treat you like a cuck because you are one.
Yeah, but Britain's sort of used to that. I think that's the British establishment are comfortable being the comsock.
Yeah,
they're fine with that, really, which is pathetic. But there you go.
These attacks are illegal. This is killing civilians in Iran. There needs to be a peace process. Maybe the good officers of Pakistan can be mobilised yet again to try and at least get a ceasefire and some way forward. The last thing we need is a war between the USA and Iran.
But on the bases, would you allow them to continue using those UK bases?
No, absolutely not, because
Oh, Lukaku, what a beautiful turn. lays the ball off, gets an assist. Lovely.
I think you have to say, if we are not involved in this war, and the government's argument is...
I want to see the editing you do to get rid of my Lukaku bits. Fuck yes. Love it.
That these are defensive attacks. I'm really puzzled. What is a defensive bombing? If you bomb somewhere...
Yeah, I've always... Yeah, the idea of doing defensive war. What does that mean? What the fuck? What are you talking about? You're flying thousands of miles to drop bombs on a school. Defensive?
Also, on a general sense, in like a general sense on this one as well, even if someone can give me a perfectly reasonable explanation on what a defensive bombing campaign is, I am skeptical that you can justify such a thing or that such a thing can even exist, right? Someone wants to lay that out to me in, you know,
I suppose,
layman's terms, right? If you wanna make this clear as
the only example I can think of is retaliatory strikes on an opposition's airfield. So if you are attacked and you purposefully go and attack to try and knock out the opposition's airfields to stop them bombing your cities, I guess that would count.
I mean, either way, sure. Like, let's just take it as read that there are such things as defensive strikes, right?
Yeah.
Assisting the United States in doing so is still assisting them in being able to more effectively prosecute their offensive strikes.
When you know full well that they have literally just bombed well, not just, but they bombed a school full of kids. That's the thing they did on purpose, knowing it was just a school full of kids.
Exactly, right? Like, no matter how justifiable you can make your own engagement with the United States' campaign is, by engaging with it at all, you are helping them to divert resources back towards their offensive operations, because war is always offense and defense on both sides. And at some point, any amount of defensive capacity that you use to be able to assist someone, they will be able to transfer their own defensive capacity to their offensive capacity. It's the same reason as to why we're just funding the Iron Dome is not a justifiable use of support for Israel, because every single penny that you spend of your money on Israel's Iron Dome is a penny that they can divert from their own Iron Dome spending to massive bunker buster bombs to drop on Gazan schools, right?
Or bulldozers to knock down houses in the West Bank.
Exactly, 100%, which is why even on the terms with which it's being sold to us by the government, it is bad. I also think that they're not doing defensive strikes. I think they're bombing schools from our bases, right? The kind of bombs I saw loaded onto these planes at RAF Fairford were clearly not there to be used for, you know, pinpoint strikes on missiles being launched into the Strait of Hormuz or whatever. These are massive, like, bunker buster bombs. I don't believe what the Americans are telling us. I don't think the Americans would tell us where the strikes were going and give us operational details on them. I think they would just go like, don't you worry your pretty little head, you know, Mr. Miliband. We definitely 100% are doing nice bombings rather than bad bombings, right? And you just have to trust us. And I'm sure that those things are actually being done on civilian targets.
Yeah.
Is a bombing which is going to damage places and kill people. No, I think we should do the same as other countries and say absolutely no.
Jeremy Corbyn, thanks so much for being on the programme tonight.
And again, a rare example of a politician being asked a question and actually answering it.
Yep, just said, do you think we should do this thing? No.
No, it's a bad thing. We should not do that thing.
Literally.
Student politics!
Not for actually, have you considered that the adults in the room decision is to have a little bit of child murder? That's basically the situation I feel like a lot of politicians in this country are in, where they've just accepted that a certain amount of child murder is necessary for the functioning of society, and everyone who doesn't accept the child mincing machine must therefore not be a serious politician. And I make me want to scream.
Yeah, basically.
Speaking of things that make me want to scream, should we watch Nicholas Clegg?
Let's. Now, you said it was on Newsnight, but I looked, unless they've only just uploaded it or something, it wasn't there earlier. Let's have a cheeky gander. We've got Newsnight. Boom. Was it from yesterday?
Last night, I'm assuming so, because the clips only got uploaded this morning.
West Mercia Police.
Because I did take a look at this, and there's no Nick Clegg section in the program, the latest program they have uploaded.
Boo! Maybe it's going to be put up tonight.
Perhaps so. But
Wait, or should we read Ollie Dogmore's Keir Starmer article? It's quite funny.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the backup content that I had. I just popped it in the DMs.
Okie doke. Let's have a cheeky gander at that then. Okie dokie. One more step. Yes, I'm not a robot. Why are you asking me these things? Boom. Okie doke. Right then. So Ollie Dogmore, previously of Politics Joe, now of the New Statesman. Ooh, fancy. Yes. Okay. Stop calling Keir Starmer a good man. It is not decent to lie or to indulge warmongers. By Ollie Dugmore. Should we do alternating stanza?
Let's do that, yeah.
Awesome. Okie doke. Mercifully, Keir Starmer is no longer Prime Minister. That's a strong start. Though my unadulterated jubilation has been moderated by the shame of Atlanta. What? The shame? Oh, England getting knocked out. Okay. No.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Glad to see the back of the man it would be harsh to describe as Labour's worst Prime Minister, but can fairly be called its most pathetic. Time out. I would say he is the worst. I would genuinely say he is the worst Labour Prime Minister.
Ramsay MacDonald?
To be fair, he was governing with a minority.
That's true.
No,
I'm going to go and govern with the Tories instead of the Labour Party.
He stabbed them in the back, but like, Keir Starmer had the opportunity to be a dictator and decided to be a little cockboy. He decided to just do nothing with it. Like, Ramsay was dealt a difficult hand and played it very poorly. Keir Starmer was given a great hand. Well, I mean, we did have an empire.
Ramsay MacDonald, zero genocides involved with.
We did have. I mean, what were the Ramsay years? I bet I could find a genocide.
I mean, probably true.
Ramsay MacDonald. Let's find out the MacDonald years first. Like, I can't even fucking. It's 20 something, 28 or whatever. Ramsay MacDonald, former Prime Minister of the Great Britain. He was Prime Minister from 1929 to 1935. Okay, British Empire. Empire genocides. British genocide. Here we go. Great Famine. Oh, that's 52. The Bengal Famine 43. Oh, that's not a very good list. Britain and genocide. I bet there's something we could find. There's definitely something in there. For what were we doing in Africa at that time? We must have been doing a Kenya, something like that. Anyway, if someone can find that for us, please do. Copiously present. Hang on, what? Copiously present, not present. That doesn't make sense. Copiously present in national life, but utterly irrelevant to our meaningful existence. Like nitrogen. The ambient man. That's like nitrogen is one of the great similes. Yeah, love it. Metaphor is the word I was looking for, but whatever.
It's very, very good. Starmer's great skill was a loyally awareness of what to say and when, how to avoid verbal ensnarement and diplomatic complication, and crucially, when it came to facing Boris Johnson, the application of those same mechanisms to his enemies while in opposition. So what intrigued me about Starmer was that, despite his clear grasp of the power of language, he said so little and meant less of it still.
Literally.
Well, again, I guess the point really is that him being a barrister was, I guess, a career, an education in duplicity and in terms of the act of using language to be able to deceive.
Yeah, basically. Because that's what lawyers do. Lawyers have to try and find a way of making the absolutely unimpeachable completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Consider his election to the leadership of the Labour Party. As far as the membership was concerned, a weapons-grade platform of policy positions. Some of his promises increase income tax to the top 5% of earners, abolish universal credit, support the abolition of tuition fees, no more illegal wars, abolish the House of Lords, lower energy bills by £300, we now know that Starmer was less the architect of those ideas than their vessel. Identified by Morgan McSweeney as the prime candidate to implement his own vision, we also now know the true nature of Labour's general election campaign, organised by the scandal-ridden Labour Together, thanks to the exhaustive reporting of Patrick Maguire and Gabriel Pogrund, and others.
And indeed the influence of a certain man who then happens to just mysteriously become the ambassador to the United States. Weird, that.
Yum, yum.
Just totally unrelated to the fact that he was integral to the inner workings of McSweeney's political career. They just happened afterwards to beat George Osborne and Bear Grylls to the US ambassador.
It's mad that Bear Grylls was the least objectionable of the three people on that shortlist. Amazing. Hello there, Boy Meets Money. Thank you for resubscribing for 39 months. And also, yes, long live the resistance, the massive protests going on in India, which have received virtually no coverage in the West at all.
I mean, like, there was a TLDR news video about it.
Yeah,
but like, was,
but like, if there's like a tiny terrorist attack in the West, it receives wall-to-wall coverage. You can have million-strong Indian student protests, and the lost like, maybe we'll give it a news round bit.
Yeah, or like the farmers on protest, right? Like the fucking streets packed full with people waving hammers and sickles for like miles, like into the distance. Just no coverage at all of the farmer protests.
Also, you've got to love the meme game, because the Indian protests, one of the things I did see about it was that I think the Supreme Court justices in India referred to these students who couldn't find work as cockroaches.
Yes.
So they set up a cockroach party, which is its mascot and its banner are like this funky cockroach character. So they've taken it's the cockroach revolution, and I'm very much in favour of it.
I mean, hopefully there'll be a cockroach revolution at Katie Hopkins' house anytime soon.
True. Although, to be fair, the cockroaches literally would be amongst their own in that regard.
True.
Anyway, The Observant.
The Observer will have noticed the continued presence of ermine on the parliamentary estate. I could mention too that my energy bills are yet to be £300 cheaper. Maybe they will be in 2030. That's because those pledges were lies, ankle flashing to the Labour left.
Literally, yeah, that's exactly what they were. Also, just for the uninitiated, ermine is the type of fancy cloth they use on vestments for the Lords. So when he says ermine on the parliamentary estate, it means the Lords still exists.
And indeed, these people also then take up roles in office for government.
Yeah, as we were about to see with our old friend Anas Sarwar. Because this is really a big tent, a government of all the briefcases.
I mean, it is incredible to watch the Labour Party lose the unlosable election at Holyrood. Not just lose it, to come in third place and get fucking annihilated by the Scottish National Party, purely on the grounds of the fact that John Swinney is basically a normal individual and Keir Starmer and Anas Sarwar are impossible to defend. And then to go, the architects of that hilarious electoral loss, Anas Sarwar and Dougie Alexander, will give them 2 plum positions in government, including keeping on Dougie Alexander as Scottish Secretary.
Yep. Cool.
It's like he wants to lose.
It may indeed. We should pause here, briefly, to consider this dishonesty in its context. Starmer became party leader opposite Johnson, a man who could lie in 1,000 different ways, by obfuscation and bloviation, by exaggeration, omission and comic digression, by proposing different things to different people. Starmer's dishonesty was different, colder, more ruthless and specific. His were not the lies of a man with a pathological indifference to the distinction between truth and fiction, but a man who knows precisely what he is doing.
And that's the thing, I think, why Keir Starmer is always a bigger liar than Boris Johnson. I think it's a really good point that Ollie has made there. It's one that I've made before. Where did we got that from? But like, when it came to Boris Johnson's lies, they always felt like there was an opportunism. It was a guy who was less concerned with a project of subterfuge and rather a totally incompetent flatfoot who continually fucked up and realized it was easier to pretend it didn't happen and to lie about it than to face up to your responsibilities. Also, totally unworthy of governance, right? Totally unworthy of the position of Prime Minister. But it's less sinister than the lies of Keir Starmer, where you invent your political prospectus from whole cloth rather than, you know, lying for convenience, which is what Boris Johnson did. I've screwed everything up because I'm an idiot. Let's pretend I didn't do that, rather than I know full well I am hoodwinking and deceiving these people. That is my political strategy. Is significantly more sinister than whatever Boris Johnson did.
Are you suggesting that he is a proven morally corrupt serial liar?
I may be doing.
Are you giving him liar chirps? Are you calling him a bullshitter?
Maybe so. Yes, me next.
Indeed.
Starmer was acutely aware of what the Labour membership wanted, and he told them they'd get it. But for his next election, he faced a very different electorate, which required a different message. And so, he shifted his rhetoric to the right. He spoke more about fiscal discipline or welfare cuts than significant increases to infrastructure spending, or the revolutionary decreases in childcare costs for young parents. He promised not to increase taxes before adding the qualifier on working people. Since securing power, his government has increased taxes by £62 billion.
Yeah, I think he might be full of shit.
It's incredible that he managed to piss off everybody by lying to everyone. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
I mean,
if you do lie to everyone will realise you're a liar.
And what's interesting, there was a point that was made by James Heal, who's from The Spectator, on Twitter earlier today. Let me find it and read it out.
Yes.
Which was...
Eric, yes, ermine is a form of stoat. It's animal fur that they use for the garments of the Lords. Because the Lords isn't creepy and weird enough. They have to have dead animal on them as well.
Yeah, so, this was a post from James Heal from The Spectator, responding to someone talking about how, Burnham wasn't really as radical as we thought he would be. It's the first week. We'll see what comes in later. Again, not got my hopes up, right?
Hang on. First off, who thought he was going to be radical?
I mean, everyone thought he was going to be the second coming of Corbyn. Who knows? Anyway, James Hill from The Spectator says, there's a lot to suggest that talk left and govern right within the context of the Labour tradition is a sensible way to run the party.
Sensible.
And I'm just well, I mean, the thing, of course, is that he's not necessarily wrong in terms of how that used to work, and indeed how Keir Starmer thought it would work, right? That's not necessarily how Tony Blair did it. He went to the Labour Party and said, I will be a right-winger, vote for me because we've lost the argument on public ownership and neoliberalism or whatever. He specifically said that and won the leadership election. Yeah. But even so, when it comes to talking left and governing right, Keir Starmer and his advisors live in a different world. This stuff works when people can't track your statements in real time and bring things up and hold you to account with the receipts. But we live in a social media world, not an old media world. Of course, no one from the old media would hold their feet to the fire on these campaign pledges. Not a single one of them would care because it's the left and we're not relevant to politics. Every single person on Twitter has got somewhere saved on their phone a photo of a tweet or a video or a picture of a pledge or something Keir Starmer said, which is, again, committed to the annals of the internet ad infinitum for eternity.
Is there a single leftist who doesn't have the I believe she does have that right gif saved somewhere?
Exactly, 100%. These things are eternally committed to the internet, and anyone on Twitter can take a policy announcement or a statement in a press conference or a question answer in an interview and go, here's a clip of you saying the opposite thing 2 years ago. Here's a clip of you saying a different thing during the leadership election. Here is a statement that you made explicitly ruling out the thing that you're now doing.
Here is a clip of you going, meet me, Pomaguna.
I'll be sensible, but you also said meet, let's be real. Yeah. Right, but and so you can't get away with it. You can't get away with it when your scrutiny is Joe Public and not an entirely self-selected group of ideologically similar people from the old media class who will never scrutinize you on things that are important to the left because they don't believe the left are relevant. But once the left have access to Twitter and the difference between what you said in 2020 and what you say in 2026 can be easily pointed out, simple stuff oh well, I was never a friend and a colleague to Jeremy Corbyn, here's the video of you saying it. You can't get away with it. You literally cannot get away with this stuff.
Yeah. It is not miraculous that this strategy, this disjunct between word and deed, alienated the broader electorate, just as it did the Labour Party's left. It was too clever by half, and the ultimate cause of the collapse of Starmer's political authority. I will just time out on that. I don't think it was too clever by half. I think it was literally just the only thing he knows how to do. He and Morgan McSweeney knew they had to lie to the left to get into power. It wasn't a clever strategy, it was bullshit.
And there's also a bad strategy, insofar as there is an assumption that people on the Labour right make, which was that the Jeremy Corbyn wing of the party was an infiltration of Trotskyists and of people from militant tendency and the hard left who should never be trusted and who were trying to take over the party. That's the narrative that the press was told. It's what the Labour right have always thought, and it's kind of been received wisdom at this point because that's the way it was reported, because the press were just reporting what people on the Labour right told them in briefing meetings, Yeah. But the reality is that's not what it was at all. It was people between the ages of 18 and 35 who saw their future being shat away by politicians who didn't know how to govern, who saw the failure of neoliberalism, wanted something different, wanted a rebirth of the social contract. They weren't Marxist-Leninists or Trotskyists, not even necessarily socialists, just anti-austerity people who believed in the role of the state in making a good society and the failure of Thatcherism. That was the basic level of politics here, boilerplate social democracy. And they thought, well, by purging the left, all we're doing is purging a bunch of Marxist book club goers who are totally out of touch with normal people in this country. And in reality, they were, if the polls be believed, alienating about 20% of the public, given that that's how much the Green Party have been polling to since Keir Starmer told people that the door was open and they could leave.
And ultimately, the lack of intelligence within the strategy was that, there was always going to be like a moment or a time when those checks you wrote were going to have to be cashed. And so those promises you made not being fulfilled was going to lead to you becoming unpopular, which is exactly what Michael Crick told everybody was going to happen, because that's obviously what was going to happen. But secondly, and more importantly, I think, is that they thought that even though those leftists, some of them will fritter away and not vote for us, enough of the left and the soft left, even though they don't like our policies, will vote for us no matter what, because there's no other option. They were doing the Blairish strategy of, who else have you got? Well, under Blair, we didn't have anyone else. Now we do. Now, in Scotland and Wales, they have the nationalist parties, and there is a Green Party everywhere. And it's way better than it was before, way more passionate, way more... not even necessarily way more radical, because the policies haven't changed. They're just selling those policies much, much better, and they are a viable alternative now that Labour can't hold people hostage. They essentially had the entire left of the country in the basement going, well, you can't escape. Tough shit. And Zach Polanski bulldozed the room open and everyone can leave now.
Literally, that's exactly true. And again, like, it relied on this bullshit they told themselves that the left were a tiny group of ideological, purist people who no one would notice if they were gone. And turns out they really fucking noticed.
Yeah. Turns out there were a lot more fleas than they'd planned. Anyway, the irony.
The irony is that Starmer's great miscalculation was that he wasn't cynical enough. He understood politics as a contest of messages, opponents, and moments. He underestimated the extent to which politics is also a contest of meaning. Voters will forgive almost anything from a politician who is authentically taking them somewhere. They will forgive difficult choices, broken promises, even failure. But if they suspect you of dishonesty, of inauthenticity, they will not follow you. True. I think that's not wrong in the slightest, right? Like, people will forgive. People forgave Boris Johnson for, killing hundreds of thousands of people in the Boris Johnson camp because he was speaking their language and was representing them politically. Starmer represented nobody politically, didn't have a passion, didn't have a hinterland. So he could have... there was no amount of good policy that could make up for the fact that all the bad stuff was so toxic that he couldn't rely on loyalty.
Well, I the only thing I will quibble about in that particular little bit there was the phrase, he wasn't cynical enough. I think that's misused, because I think it was precisely the ridiculous out-of-whack cynicism of him calculating each and every move to the point where you have, I've got 7 different types of bunting in my fucking living room. right? And having them have tiny flags at the fucking conference, as if anyone's buying that. Everyone can smell how absolutely cynical and inauthentic that is. And it was precisely that cynicism which meant that people could see through him. You can be inauthentic, but if you do so in a way that at the very least seems possible, seems plausible, but it's not plausible that Mr. Human Rights Lawyer all of a sudden became Mr. Gammon. That didn't happen. We all know that didn't happen. You can talk about an island of strangers all you like. No one is buying it. No one thinks you've become Nigel Farage.
Exactly, 100%, 100%. And again, in a world of social media where everything you've ever said has been committed to the internet for eternity, you can't get away with it.
Yeah.
You can't get away with pretending that you always believed in the power of patriotism when, like, in your Emily Thornberry discredited people who flew flags during the Brexit campaign, right? That shit sticks. You can't get away with it when, you know, the ultimate arbiter of public opinion is what you say to the public rather than the way it's framed by the BBC or Times or whatever it is.
Indeed. Indeed, the democratisation of both opinion and memory has been devastating for the neoliberal.
Or just just in general to the permanent political class, right?
Yeah.
It's just been an absolute, like, bulldozer through the kind of safety valve of the mainstream media consensus opinion that they previously were able to ride as, like, the...
Well, that's what they mean.
police.
When they say, is Britain becoming ungovernable, that's what they mean, is why can't we control them anymore?
Well, exactly, 100%. The police of the Overton window is what the press were. And that doesn't exist anymore. The Overton window is everywhere. So they have to appeal to everybody rather than just the swing electorate who live in fucking Saffron Walden or some shit.
Indeed. Starmer's verbal precision discredited and condemned him morally. He was the Prime Minister who would sooner say that Israel has the right to cut off power and water to Gaza, a war crime, in an LBC interview a few days after the 7th of October, then condemn the slaughter of Palestinian civilians. Time out. I will say, when you talk about his verbal precision, I will just say he did use a conference speech to say, release the sausages. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They, like, he wasn't verbally precise. He was just calculated and shit. Like, he's sort of giving him too much credit. Again, he wasn't as Machiavellian as he seems. He was being puppeted by an actually Machiavellian Irishman.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. Where are we? Civilians. Later, he said he had misspoken. I think the moment was more revealing. History will remember him for Britain's complicity in the massacre of Gaza, perhaps alongside his more authoritarian indulgences, social media bans for teenagers, the thousands arrested for social media posts, and the attempted imposition of digital ID.
And arresting pensioners for holding signs. Let's not forget that part, right? Like, again, so many authoritarian power grabs throughout all of that. And again, it's also worth pointing out that no one believes that he misspoke because, again, social media doesn't forget, and we have all the clips of both him and then also the aforementioned Emily Thornberry continually going out to defend the original statement on the mainstream media throughout the rest of the next few days. It was only a week later where they rolled it back. It wasn't a clarification of the original statement, it was a repudiation of the original statement because they'd already defended it and confirmed the meaning of the statement after the fact.
Literally. And also, we can't mention mishaps and have Jeremy Corbyn on without mentioning him high-fiving Emily Thornberry's right tit.
I mean, you know what, base, you know.
Like,
and again, it looks
they both.
right?
It was authentic because they both like styled it out like, let's pretend like that didn't happen, which is exactly what you would do. Because you'd both be so embarrassed, you're just like, okay, let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's never speak of it. It's just an unfortunate end. It's fine, whatever.
And again, like, yeah, they've been politicians forever. They know to be able to let this stuff kind of wash over them. But Keir Starmer is so politically kind of green. He'd not been in politics until 2015 and was terrible in politics ever since, right? He never learned to laugh this stuff off. And he couldn't cope with the people showering you with glitter or the return of the sausages. Like, he just let this stuff just kind of fester in the public discourse for ages. And he would have a fucking tit.
He would have high-fived a tit and gone, oh no, and then gone into like a fugue state. He wouldn't have. He would have just had a mental breakdown, and he'd have been quivering in the corner, gibbering to himself, going meat, 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 meat.
Literally, that's exactly what happened. Again, just totally. Again, look, it's hilarious how he was just so ideologically unfit to be Prime Minister, morally fit to be Prime Minister, and just talentlessly unfit to be Prime Minister. Just a terrible politician, a terrible human being, and a terrible operator. Just like an absolute cavalcade of shit.
Yeah, literally.
I wish people would stop calling Starmer a decent man. It is not decent to lie. It is not decent to indulge warmongers. It is not decent to, as what happened to Faiza Shaheen, abandon a mother who has devoted her life to beating former Tory leaders in safe seats because she is too left-wing. It is not decent to humiliate a predecessor because it's expedient to do so. It is not decent to refuse to lift hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty, then scrap the two-child benefit cap after caving to internal pressure and to try and take the credit in a resignation speech. And external pressure, I'll point out.
Yeah. But other than missing the external pressure, he cooked.
Yeah, he cooked incredibly.
That's a perfect summation of like everything. Like the Faiza Shaheen thing is a true point. When Ronnie O'Sullivan, the snooker player, outflanks you to the left, you've got a problem. I think.
Yeah,
I think there's an issue there. You know,
like the authoritarian nature of his rule of the Labour Party. Again, it's a damning indictment on just how much of a just despicable individual he was.
There are so many moments, both meme and serious, that should sum up his time. And literally, I just go back to them arresting that blind, was it fucking 80-year-old former pastor or whatever? Like
in a wheelchair, yeah.
In a wheelchair, like in a mobility fucking scooter thing. I'm like, that's your terrorist. That's the person who I'm supposed to think is a genuine threat to the public order. Okay, I mean, you're full of shit, lads. You're full of shit.
Again, it's not saying that there weren't some good things that happened, but they were just kind of swamped with this massive kind of, again, cavalcade of awful policy, morally despicable actions, and again, huge failures of being a politician.
But even those good things get marred. It's like you've got two nice cakes, but they're in a massive vat of shit. Well, that just means they're covered in shit. Then the fact that they might have been nice cakes means I'm still not eating them. You know. Anyway,
100%.
That Starmer declines to name his children in public is not a moral absolution for those horrors. In fact, what kind of father would, when Russian-linked assets are firebombing your home? I'm not doing the joke. I'm not going to do it. No Keir Starmer. Right, I'll start that sentence again and read it like it was written. No, Keir Starmer is gone, and I am glad. Here's hoping Andy Burnham can do better. The bar is low.
It's literally so true. I mean, I think if the general, like, how can Keir Starmer like look in his children's eyes and pretend to be a good role model now? Like,
well, he knows more than most because he'll have like the proper security fucking information and stuff. Like he knows exactly what Israel gets up to day. He doesn't just have to doom scroll through Twitter. He knows exactly what they're fucking doing, and
what we've been doing to assist them
exactly, and has been helping them do it. And then goes home and kisses his kids goodnight.
And then kisses Jenny Chan.
And kisses several Ukrainian men.
Sorry, there's no evidence that he cheated on his wife with Jenny Chan and Chan.
But he did have Ren boys. He did. Fact. Anyway, although I suppose...
That was great article.
That was really well written. He's a good writer, the lad. He's honestly, it's Joe's loss.
Literally, there's that moment on Question. Let me find the moment on Question Time where he just kind of cut into the Peter Mandelson stuff, and it was just like really kind of poignant in terms of his kind of evisceration of how we got to that decision in the first place. Let me find it. Here it is. It's a good one. Let me pop in the Discord. Chat.
Boom.
Generally
I do remember this because we watched it together.
Yeah.
I'm generally a pretty forgiving person, and I think our politics is poorer for its lack of empathy. I think most people should not be defined by the worst thing that they've ever done in their lives, and most people deserve a second chance. I do, however, have some moral boundaries. And one of them is that I think it is wrong to have sex with children, and I wouldn't want to...
Whoa. Calm it with the anti-Semitism. What's going on here? This is dangerous student politics right now. You know what it is? It's not very sensible.
No, it's not sensible.
To be friends with anyone that did that, and I certainly wouldn't want to work with them. If I did, I think you'd all be asking me questions, and they'd be valid ones. That is apparently now a fringe position for some people at the top of the Labour Party.
Oh, no, see, that I mean, it's sort of a joke, I suppose, but it's also a very serious point. That's why they were being called the Nonce Party on the doorstep.
Literally, I mean, again, like, it's not like this was unknown.
Yeah.
Like, Jim Pickard from the Financial Times questioned Keir Starmer about this in April of 2024, before Mandelson was even the ambassador, before Keir Starmer was even Prime Minister. And he was just advising from the background. It was just like, you're good friendship and you're being advised by Peter Mandelson. Cares to comment on the Epstein stuff? And Starmer's like, I don't know anything about this. And I'm like, surely you should go and find out. If you think that there is any chance that your close political allies might be in some way related to, like, the most famous paedophile of all time, I would want to do something. I want to check. Yeah. I want to go, Peter, about this whole Epstein thing. Or just go on Twitter, find Zara Sultana's account, go to the media tab, and look through the pictures and find the many, many, many times she has posted the picture of Peter Mandelson with Jeffrey Epstein, right? Easy thing to do.
He's in his underpants around him quite a lot, which again is not illegal. They're both grown adults, but like when he's the most famous nonce ever, and you're in his house in your underpants.
Literally,
honestly, it's the most rancid vibes I can imagine. Jesus Christ!
Like, Keir Starmer continually kind of hyped himself up as this prime minister who would care the most about violence, women and girls. And it's like, we didn't seem to care much about it when you were palling around with Peter Mandelson, did you?
Yeah, also...
If there's something that I'm genuinely very concerned about, violence against women and girls, considering that I am one, right? Incredible, very high level of concern as far as I'm concerned, right? And if I had any suspicions my political allies were involved in that or were tangentially related to people who were very high up in these kind of circles, I would have immediately questioned this the first time I got an inkling that was the case.
Well, you know what Keir Starmer and Tommy Robinson have in common? It's that they've got
racists.
Well, they're both racist, but they've both got very close personal allies who are, let's say, accused of noncery related shit, because of course the Tate brothers are going to be extradited to the UK. It looks like the US federal government is not going to contest that case, and so it's going to go to the court, and the court will decide, because the US government can like overrule it basically and say we're not sending US citizens, but they're not going to do that. So essentially Trump has thrown them under the bus because they're not useful anymore. And so they're going to be sent to Britain on 59 charges, 19 of which relate to the possession of child abuse imagery.
Yay.
Is Tommy Robinson the person most photographed with paedophiles in the history of the world? Because if you see someone who's photographed with that many nonces, it does make you think whether he actually takes violence against women and girls seriously, whether he's actually doing this to protect the women and girls.
Yeah, all of the we care about grooming gangs people are going to have a lot of explaining to do.
Also, if you're that friendly with that many nonces, I do think we should search your hard drive. I mean, just better safe than sorry, right? Like, judge the people by the company they keep. If all of the company you keep are nonces, you know, if there are 12 nonces, and one of them claims not to be a nonce, what you have is still 12 nonces. Fact.
Which is an extraordinary thing to be able to say. I don't know about you. I don't know any paedophiles. I don't know anyone that's run a global sex trafficking ring. Like
Tommy Robinson does. Allegedly.
These are extraordinary things that we're talking about here. And not only that, and I should be clear, like that there's some brilliant journalism that my colleagues at the New Statesman have done over the last couple of days.
New Statesman friend. Ooh.
Political editor Alva Ray has reported that not only did the people at the top of the Labour Party know about this, and that's because this information was available on Google. They don't need the security services to tell them it.
Well, this is the firstly, solid burn. And secondly, this is genuinely true. He didn't fail his vetting because of the noncing stuff. He failed it because of his connections to the Chinese government and the Russian government. Like, he was on the board of a Chinese company with very strong connections to the Central Committee of the Chinese Communist Party, and he remained on the board of a Russian company with strong links to the Kremlin even after the invasion of eastern Ukraine. So, you know, after we pull those sanctions on Russia economically. And then Keir Starmer appointed him to be the most sensitive diplomatic position this country has. Like, Britain has always been bad. I'm reminded of the Cambridge 5 thing, where there was, during the 60s, our spies were so bad that the head of the organisation within MI5 that was there to root out communist spies was a Russian agent, right? The person who was in charge of the subcommittee that was dealing with people who had British agents lost in the Soviet Union was a Russian agent.
Yep.
So they had that tied up in a nice little bow, didn't they? And then we didn't even find out about it. The Americans found out about it because there was a third fucking agent who was in the British embassy in Washington, and they found out and told us. And because our information was so porous, they got ahead of it, and most of them were able to defect before they could be arrested.
Of course that was the case.
Brilliantly. So, like, we have history of sending, let's say, compromised people to Washington. Fucking hell. Why did they let us have an embassy? Really? We're a fucking nightmare.
When you say this, because there's a whole slew of information coming out, but I think you're referring specifically to the fact that there were photographs of Mandelson's
friendship
Epstein,
with Epstein,
and the fact that he stayed in his house
whilst he was in prison. Whilst he was in prison. And they didn't think that was disqualifying. They thought, actually, this is our guy. This is our guy that we're going to elevate to the most prestigious diplomatic posting that we have. We're going to make him...
And again, not to rehash this stuff all over again, but I think it was literally because of that. Not only was it not disqualifying, it was one of his fucking qualifications. Because who better to talk to Nancy friend of nonce than Nancy friend of nonce?
I mean, my opinion on this is that may be true. I think the significantly more likely thing is just that Morgan McSweeney wanted to scratch back for somebody who'd been his mentor for 2 decades.
Oh yeah, but look, in terms of selling the idea to Starmer and the inner circle, like, you can just use, like, behind closed doors, they don't have to pretend they give a fuck about the morality of it, so they can just say, like, oh, he knew Epstein as well. He was best friends, he moves in the same circles, they all know each other, boom, he'll be perfect for the role. Which, of course, when you then, like, you say that to a normal person, so they were both friends with the nuns, and you thought that was a good thing. Look, it's insane, but in the neoliberal consensus and Westminster bubble, it doesn't sound insane, because you're not thinking rationally or logically at all at that point. You're just thinking cynically.
Our man in Washington. And not only that, we're going to bring him back to London every so often to advise us on cabinet reshuffles. And actually, when we're choosing our candidates for the 2024 general election, we're going to let him input on that too, because we think he's a great judge of character. Like, come on.
Yeah, if you're a Labour MP, you got through the pedo vetting process. I'm just saying. You were not dissuasive to Yum Yum.
I just incredibly frustrating that again, like, these things were open and honest, and anyone could have seen this guy's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein at any point, and just it took the Epstein files being released for anyone to point it out, other than Jim Pickard at the FT and at Lenin Balls 99 on Twitter.
Yeah, literally mad shit. Anyway, do we have any more?
Leave it there? I don't have anything more to add today.
No, I think we're a tight 2 hours. Good stuff.
Absolutely. We seem to be very efficient with today's stream content. Have you got happy hour today?
No, we did one. When did we do one, chat? Wednesday, because Christy's got people coming into town, so we've got all sorts of reschedulings and things. Anyway, everyone go and follow No Justice MTG on all the platforms. Otherwise, I will strike down upon you with furious vengeance, and you will know I am the Lord.
And likewise, do the same with Kevin Logan. It is at Ploppy111 on YouTube. Go and subscribe. That's a fucking order.
There is literally no one. There are 2 people going on YouTube. One of which is No Justice, so no real point sending you there. And secondly, the other one is the Young Turks, and I'd rather cut off my own feet than send you there. So if you're
I'm sending everyone into the Navara Live.
Do I not? Oh, the waiting room. Okay, I see what you've done. Yeah, I need to follow more people, I think. Should we do a Zacap dub? Oh no, you're not on Twitch, are you? You don't? Yeah, do you stream at all on Twitch anymore? Or?
No.
Oh, okay.
On Thursdays, if we do question time, basically, is when I do Twitch streams. Obviously, we're now in silly seasons. There's no question times.
Literally. Okay, well, I'll send you over to Zacap then. Go and say hello to his Australianness. Free Palestine and that.
Indeed, from the river to the sea. Let's pray for free Palestine, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Are you streaming tomorrow?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
No
Okay.
worries. Well, I'll try and make sure we don't clash then.
Indeed. Bye.
Make sure you watch Turn Left tonight as well.
Oh yeah,
Bye.
go and watch Turn Left.
Bye.
If not thousands of dollars.